Hello and welcome to College Credit Coach. My name is Tammy, and at College Credit Coach, we're striving to help kids of any age earn college credits before ever taking a college course. And I'm excited. I'm here with my oldest son, Joshua, who just graduated high school and he graduated college. So I've been looking forward to making this video for some time because it's been an accumulation of many years that we've been working towards this goal. But Joshua, when did you graduate high school?
I graduated high school in May of 25, so class of 25.
Okay, and then when did you just graduate college?
I graduated college in December of 2025.
Okay, so just 7 months later from graduating high school, you graduated college. And what did you graduate with? What degree?
I graduated college with a major in biology and a minor in chemistry.
And can you explain to our viewers a little bit about why you chose the biology degree?
Yeah, I chose the degree I did to set myself up to go to medical school because that's something I've considered doing for quite some time and I'm still considering. The other thing I'm considering is flying. So I got my pilot license when I turned 17 and I'm working on a commercial pilot license so I can get hired to fly right now. And so we'll see how God leads career-wise, whether I do one or the other, or maybe some combination. Pilot positions don't technically require a 4-year degree, but it's highly preferred that you do have one that gains you points in the hiring process.
Yep. And then just in case he ever lost his medical to be able to fly, he would have a backup career to go to other than aviation. And so in this video, I just want to take a look at Joshua's schooling and his progression from 7th through 10th grade when he did his CLEP and his DSST credits, and then when he started in at Morehead State with his 11th and 12th grade high school year, but really his junior and senior college years, getting his degree, and a few mistakes we made along the way, and then his plans now going forward. So basically, if we wanted to start, we start way back in the spring of your 6th grade year, if you remember this. We went to a workshop put on by Credits Before College that covered basically everything that was in this book. And I think you've seen me hold up this book before, but helping students earn a debt-free college degree. And this workshop and this book explains everything about the CLEP and the DSST programs. I also have a video on my YouTube channel here explaining all the different CLEP and DSST tests and how you go about getting credits and things. But if you remember, after that workshop, were you excited about doing CLEP and DSST?
I don't remember my exact emotions. I remember the event rather clearly, but I do remember being excited. I don't think the gravity or the magnitude of the opportunity really occurred to me. In 6th grade, your priorities aren't usually fully on college at that point, but I do remember, I guess excitement probably would be the best word.
Okay. Between Joshua's 6th and 7th grade that summer, we did move to a new town in Minnesota. And when we landed here, I did some research online and I just looked at all the different colleges and university within like a 40 to 60 mile radius. And I looked at on their website, if you're interested in doing this, if you go to any college websites, they always have a search little box up in the corner. And if you type in CLEP, just C-L-E-P, hit enter, it'll bring up usually a list of all the different CLEP tests that college or university accepts and what credits it may go towards for that college class. So I did a whole bunch of research. I remember looking at a bunch of 4 or 5 different colleges in the area, and it came down to MSUM would accept, they had 10 different categories of general education categories that you had to have, plus your core, they call those the core requirements. No, they call those the general ed requirements, plus then your core requirements for biology. Those two things mixed together, so general ed requirements and core requirements mixed together give you your degree. So I found that out of the 10 different categories of general ed requirements, we could satisfy 8 of those categories with different CLEP and DSST tests. So I started making, let me show you, when I typed into the MSUM website CLEP, then this web page came up. I print everything out. But it said CLEP examination accepted score. So here's your score. If you get this score, then it's the equivalent MSUM course. So like for the CLEP test American Government, if you got a 50 or higher, that would count for the Political Science 120 class, which was a goal number 5 category. And then it goes on to American Literature. And if you got a 50, that would give you 6 credits, and that would count for the goal number 6, and so forth. So when I got this information, then I just set out a map, another cool printout that Josh likes. This was my map of different years, by different years, what classes, or excuse me, different years, what CLEP and DSSTs he could take, building between his 7th and his 10th grade year, getting all those general ed requirements done. And then in 11th and 12th, you would take the dual enrollment classes, actually on-campus classes or college classes at MSUM, and complete his high school, 11th and 12th, and most of his junior, senior, like 300 and 400 level classes for college. Okay, so Joshua, if you remember, the first DSST test you took was environmental science, and I felt like we could do that because they had the study guide and the textbook, and so step by step we could just start there, learn our goods and bads and how to, get this process down of doing CLEPs and DSSTs. And when we first moved here, I'd never gone to a testing center in this area, so I called around to all the different testing centers, and only one testing center administered the DSST test, and that lady was retiring the next Thursday. So I said, okay, let's book it for Thursday when she retires, the day she retires, and you had a week to really cram. I mean, you were almost prepared anyway, but you really crammed, you went and you passed. And do you remember anything about that first test?
Everything was new about that process at that point. I've been studying for the 2 tests, the American Literature CLEP and the DSST Environmental Science simultaneously. I believe at that point, before you started calling around to schedule tests, we had been planning to take American Literature first.
Okay.
So it must have been nearing the end of both tests. But I remember being very surprised at the scheduling of the test, but we didn't really have a choice at the time. So we rolled with it. I'm sure we studied pretty hard for that, week or whatever I had there. And I do remember a lot of excitement following the completion of passing the test. And they're all exciting, but after a while, maybe the later ones weren't quite as exciting.
Sure. And for this first environmental science test, you had never really taken any online computer tests. You never sat down and taken a test on the computer, had you?
I believe I had.
Okay.
Never a CLEP or DSST. Obviously, we said environmental science would have been the first, but some of, at least in the state of Minnesota, there would be like the
That's
year-end
right.
test for homeschoolers.
Yeah, that's right.
I believe at least 1 or 2 years, those were computerized exams.
Okay, so
and they were pretty long too.
Okay, so initially it wasn't anything to adjust to do an online on the computer test.
Not really.
Okay.
I would say that was one of the smallest things. No
Okay.
larger than going from like one testing software on a computer to another testing software.
Okay.
I certainly
And this
wasn't.
one, I'm sorry.
I certainly wasn't illiterate like in using computers
Right.
at all. So I don't think that was much of a challenge. But some people might find that different. I know some people would probably value having a pen in their hand or whatever.
Okay.
Even though that wasn't me.
Do you remember how many CLEP and DSST credits you had before you even started college?
That's a good question. I honestly don't. I could take a guess, but it'd probably be pretty far off.
How many do you think it was?
Let's see here.
Okay, I'll tell them. You add them as we go, okay?
Okay.
Here, you add. So anyway, first, what we usually did, and I have a video about this too, how we did our scheduling. Usually he always had math every morning in homeschooling, and then he'd work on one subject in the morning for about 2 hours and one CLEP and DSST in the afternoon. So math for an hour, one CLEP for 2 hours, lunch, and then the next 2 hours was another CLEP or DSST. So you're right, your first semester in 7th grade, you're working on environmental science and American literature. And then second semester, you were working on U.S. history and government. And those two really went well together just because they were on the same topic. It looks like in the summer of the 7th grade, you also did a little bit of microeconomics. And we intend to have a video about each individual CLEP and DST subject and what we studied for eventually on our YouTube channel here. So you'll be able to see that. Okay, so then going into 8th grade, your semester 1 was college composition. And semester 2, you did Principles of Public Speaking and Astronomy. And then all year in 8th grade, you did biology. So it was just biology with a couple of those other things splattered in between. Then, let's see, in 9th grade, all year you did chemistry. And that was kind of a heavy load, so we really didn't do a lot of other things other than chemistry. In 10th grade, you finally finished college algebra, so you took your college algebra test. And then you did psychology and ethics in America. And if you remember that, you did that with Emily so that you could study those two together, and that worked really well.
We did that for several tests.
Yep.
Not only ethics, I believe we studied psychology and astronomy together,
Astronomy,
as I
yep.
recall,
Yep.
as well.
And then I can't remember, I said ethics in America, semester 2 in 10th grade. Now, in 10th grade, in your second semester, because you were done with college algebra, I had you do statistics. And this is one of my mistakes that I made. I had you do statistics because some of the medical schools said that they wanted a statistic class. And so I thought, okay, well, we can get statistics done this way. But what I should have done, this was under one of my areas of my mistakes, is I should have had you do the pre-calculus CLEP test. And eventually I did, but what we found is when he got to do his dual enrollment, his Physics 1 class required, the prereq was pre-calculus. And so that was fine. We found out enough time that you could take pre-calc that summer before and then take the test and still qualify. But that was one of the things I learned is, yes, pre-calculus was a CLEP, but it didn't count for any general ed courses, so I had dismissed it. But I should have looked at what prerequisites were required for different courses and had you take the pre-calculus course just to qualify for that prerequisite. Hopefully that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Close enough.
Okay, so that was statistics. Then we got into 10th grade, second semesters, you did humanities. You did finish your pre-calculus by the end of your 10th grade summer, going into 11th grade. And then you did world religions. And that was another thing, that was my second mistake I learned about. Each college or university can determine their policies for CLEP and DSSTs. So for MSUM, once you start college classes, you can no longer take CLEPs or DSSTs for credit. You can take one DSST within your, I don't know how many DSSTs. You can take DSSTs up into the end of your first semester of your first semester of taking classes. So you took the world religions DSST in your first semester. So that was one thing that we learned about.
I actually took the world religions, a world religions class from the university. And so that was the main way I studied for that class. And I don't remember the exact time of if I took that after I was done with the class. I mean, I'm sure I'd have been near the end of the class.
Right. It was
but
like
probably near the end, but not quite
Right.
at the end.
Right. And early enough that it would still count before you finished your first semester. Did you count up how many credits you had?
Yeah, I did, and I don't know if I was counting up the right numbers, but my total was 55, or
Okay.
at least about so.
I thought you had 58. So
Okay, well,
so somewhere
I might
real
have
close
missed.
to that.
Most
Yeah.
of the tests seem like 3 credits, so I probably just forgot to count one.
Probably American
one
Lit was
test.
6 credits, and so that's probably where.
Oh, that might have been it.
Yep. Okay. Then I kind of shared with you as we went most of the mistakes I made. But the other mistake or the other thing we've learned with Joshua, he's kind of my guinea pig, but I have learned or picked out better curriculums for some of the subjects now as my second child comes along. So for like microeconomics, I didn't have a good study tool for you, a good textbook or anything. You did well, you did modern states, but now with Emily, I found a better curriculum. So that's some things that I'm learning as I'm going. And I'm just telling you that so you don't expect perfection when you go through this process. Expect some up and downs and some learning and some mistakes, but it all does work out and still is worth it to do it. Even if you don't get it all right, it's still worth it to have the goal and to work towards that. Okay, so after 10th grade then, that was the completion of all the CLEP and DSSTs. Then you applied to the PSE program and you got assigned an advisor, and he helped lay out really all the classes you were going to need to take to get your biology degree. And if you remember that, I remember having, I don't have to show it, but my chicken scratch of different classes. Basically, you were going to be in there for 8 semesters, and hopefully by the end of the 8 semesters, you were going to have your biology degree. And the way college and universities can, again, allow you or not allow you to take certain classes with dual enrollment, as long as you didn't have to declare a degree, he was able to take any class he wanted at MSUM. But if he would have wanted to take nursing classes, his dual enrollment would not have allowed him to do that because you have to be accepted into that program. So there are some restrictions. And again, every college or university is allowed to have those restrictions and to decide what they want to allow and not allow. Does that make sense? So you declared, or you did not declare biology as your major, but that was what you were going for. And so we knew that you would at least have to, you'd had 8 semesters of PSEO that the state would be paying for. And then we would have to at least take a summer course or 2 just to wrap everything up, if you remember. So I know a lot of PSEO students, some of them were taking just junk courses, but Joshua went in with a firm plan and a goal of really getting as much as he could done. So at the end of 12th grade, high school, you graduated on May 14th of 2025, and then you did 2 summer classes, if you remember, for MSUM. One was anatomy and one was...
immunobiology, which was the study of the human immune system.
Okay, and is that where you had your big research paper?
That was.
Okay, so one big research paper, not too bad. Or at least I think it was not too bad. Maybe you think it was awful. And then you also decided in the fall to take biochemistry, and that, tell them why we did biochemistry.
Yeah, so a lot of the way the biology major was set out, I ended up taking quite a bit of chemistry classes. And so by the time I reached that point where I could have graduated at the end of my 2 summer classes, I was 1 class short of a chemistry minor, and being that I was young and a chemistry minor would be advantageous for an application to medical school, I decided to take the 1 class in the fall 25 semester, biochemistry 1, to finish chemistry minor, so I could have both the chemistry minor in addition to my biology major.
Yeah, and we figured he was working on his commercial pilot license at the time now too, so he would be around. So working on a commercial pilot license and having 1 class to go to in the fall wasn't a big thing to do and was a great opportunity. Might as well do it and get it done with. So now you're done with college, you're done with high school, you're done with college, and then what's your future opportunity, or what are you looking at? What do you think about?
Yeah, so talked kind of in the beginning about my two thoughts. I'm not sure if that'll combine to where I pursue medical school and keep flying as a little bit of a hobby and a side job, or maybe I'll just go kind of full in on flying and keep the college degree as a resume booster and a backup in case my health failed, because flying jobs are dependent on good health. Currently, like I mentioned earlier, I'm working on getting my commercial pilot license, which is just as fancy as it might sound. It really just gets your foot in the door for pilot jobs. You still have a long way to go before you get an airline transport pilot license, which is what most people think of when they think of a commercial pilot. I'm also working on taking EMT classes, which is emergency medical technician, so riding on the ambulance, and that's as an intermediate towards a medical thing to get my feet wet in that industry to see if I enjoy it. And once again, that's an application booster. If you apply to medical school, they like to see that you have some sort of other experience. So taking it 1 step at a time.
Okay, so that is it. That's the fun video that we're going to share all of Joshua's schooling, ups and downs, classes with you, all the goods and the bads. I know he'll be in a few more videos because there's some videos we haven't done, like on statistics and some different things that you've taken that we haven't done videos on our channel about. But anyway, I would love to hear what your kids are doing and what CLEPs and DSSTs your kids are studying. If you leave a comment down below, that'd be great. So we will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.